Hey guys, welcome to the first Learn and Earn virtual edition of 2018. Creation Health Team welcomes you.
Happy New Year.
So this is the first of 5 Creation Health Learn and Earns throughout this year for 2018. And just so you are aware, this Learn and Earn, whether it be virtual or in person, is going to be worth 5 points because we've given you a lot of other awesome opportunities this year to earn some points, and we want you to take advantage of those and experience them. So be aware, Learn and Earns are now worth 5 points. So keep that in mind when you're making your plans for 2018. So today we're going to be talking about our love languages and how to master them. So we are titling this presentation as What's Love Got to Do with It? And we were going to talk about what it does have to do with it. So today you have myself, Bryce, the picture on the right. I'm Creation Health Consultant at Winter Park and a co-consultant at Orlando.
And I am Stephanie Arguello. Hi, everybody. And I am co-Creation Health Consultant at Orlando. So like Bryce mentioned, we are talking about love languages. So really personal topic for our first session of the year. So our goals, our objectives are to first define love languages. We got to make sure we're on the same page. We're going to talk about what love looks like at home and at work. And then also discuss or share some tips for building a loving environment. So we always know there's opportunities for improvement even when it comes to love. So we're excited to share those with you today.
And as with all of our presentations, we do have a why. We have a reason that we are going to be talking about what we're talking about today. And really it starts in the beginning of everything, that love started with God, and we are created from love, by love, to be loved and to love others. So it kind of ties back into our Florida Hospital mission, which hopefully you've seen this around a few places, to extend the healing ministry of Christ. That is breathing love into all of our interactions and really making sure that we are taking care of one another. Our tagline is also the skill to heal, the spirit to care. You've probably seen that one as well. And that also really just has love as the underlying value in it. So also, as you're going through this presentation, think about what your personal why is, why this may be important to you and your relationships. For Creation Health, this is important to us because in our spirit, in our principles of mind, body, spirit, this is going to tie into your interpersonal relationships, your overall outlook, as well as your trust with others and with God.
So let's get started. First, want to start by defining what a love language is. Now, I know sometimes you might hear the words love language, and what comes to mind for me is romantic languages, so things like Italian and French. Which are very fancy, but that's not what we're talking about today. So we're really talking about how we speak and understand love, and this really comes down to communication. How do we communicate to each other how we feel? So I have a simple diagram to show you guys of what communication looks like. So usually you have your speaker, you have a person who has a message that they want to send. So they'll kind of encode that message through words, and that could be face-to-face in a conversation, over the phone. With technology, we have even things like email and text message. So there's different methods that we'll send our messages. And then the listener or receiver is going to get the same words that you sent to them and then interpret them and receive them. Now, this looks pretty simple. We've got a few arrows in a straight line, but we all know that communication is not always that simple, and especially when we're talking about communicating love and appreciation. And I know for me, there's been times where I've really tried to express my love or appreciation, and it might fall flat with the other person. So if you've ever experienced this, you've got the one, dinosaur trying to express how much they love, and it's a whole lot, but those poor little T-Rex arms, it doesn't quite come off that way to the other person, the receiver of the message. So that's why I'm so excited about this topic today, because we're really going to talk about, what are the different languages for love and how can we better express our love to the people that we care about.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about those 5 love languages. We're going to talk about them in a home setting as well as your work setting. And just so you know, we are getting this information mainly from a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. He also wrote a book about the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace, and we'll reference those books at the end. But just so you know, that's where we're getting this information from. So if you want to learn more, again, we'll let you know at the end.
So let's get started. So the first love language that we're going to talk about is words of affirmation. So what this looks like at home would be verbal compliments, words of encouragement, and using humble words. And so really when you're speaking to someone who values this as their highest love language, this is what's going to be most important, is the things that you say to them. And that's how you express your love. And at work, it looks fairly similar, but what you'll see it more of is praise for accomplishments, affirmation of character, and even praise for personality. So to give you an example, in the workplace, words of affirmation might sound like saying to someone, hey, I really appreciate how you always have a positive outlook when it comes to problem solving. So that's really, again, talking about the person's character and personality and or their accomplishments and making it really personal. And not only is it important the words that you're saying and what you say, but also how you say it. So when you are expressing words of affirmation, it's important to consider how the other person likes to receive that communication. And there are many different ways. Some people prefer privacy and maybe like to have just those one-on-one conversations. Others might be more comfortable being affirmed in a public setting, so maybe at like a department meeting or in front of other people. And for some people, they might just like a handwritten note that can go a long way as well. So there are, not only the words that we're saying, but thinking about how we're saying it. And when we're talking about words of affirmation, we also want to be aware of how this might come off the wrong way. So things to avoid would be using negative or insulting comments, because those words resonate just as strongly as those positive words if this is your highest rated love language. So just being aware of, and we always want to do this anyways, but especially with someone who values this language, be aware of how you're saying things and what you're saying.
Moving along, our second language is acts of service. So at home, actions speak louder than words. So at home, this could look like chores. This could look like helping out around the house. As you can see, lending a helping hand. And if you see your significant other or maybe a parent or a child, brother, sister, anybody at home struggling with dinner or looking like they're carrying a bunch of things, maybe helping groceries. I know we're all stubborn and we like to try to carry as many groceries as we can, but if you run out there and help that person, they're going to appreciate it and feel loved if that is their language, if acts of service is their language. At work, this could look like providing assistance to a coworker. So if you are a nurse, thinking about a coworker, a fellow nurse who has a huge patient load today, maybe bigger than yours, and you have a free moment to help them out with something, that is going to be received very well with somebody who communicates with acts of service. But importantly, make sure you ask the person before you help to make sure that it's going to be received the way you are intending, and to know that this is how you're showing you care. They can always deny your help, but offering that is a good thing. And then to do things their way. If you are helping them with a task, maybe you're helping another coworker with their workload. They have some deadlines that are coming up and you can tell they're stressed, and you ask if you can help them. Make sure if they accept, you are doing those things in the way that they want them done, because that's going to be most appreciated. One thing that you want to avoid with acts of service is broken and empty promises. So doing what you say and actually acting on the things that you want to show them instead of just telling them, because they don't value those words as much as the person prior.
So our third love language that we're going to talk about is receiving gifts. And this is one at home and at work that might look a little bit similar. So at home, we're talking about tangible gifts, so physical items. But this isn't just any random thing that you pick up. It's important that there is meaning or thought behind that present. And when you do put that thought behind it, then that really resonates with people who speak this language. Now at work, this again would look like physical items. One of the most common would be food. And that's a fun fact from the book about appreciation in the workplace. We tend to give food a lot to show appreciation. The key is, though, that when you are trying to, especially if it's a coworker, trying to show your appreciation, you want the item to be something that they value. So, for example, if you have someone who is really into running, then if you found something that represented that, even if it's just a pair of comfortable socks, then that would speak to them. But, if it's someone who's afraid of water and you get them like a snorkel set, they might not appreciate that as much. So really, tailoring gifts to people. And that can, make a big difference to someone.
Our fourth language is quality time. So at home, this is looking like undivided attention, just one-on-one. It could even be small group family time. So this could look like sitting around the dining room table, having dinner, and no phones. That could be something that, if I value quality time, that's going to mean a lot to me. Having just a conversation over dinner with my family, no TV on, no phones, everything like that. You can really learn something about people. I love personally having like one-on-one puzzle time. So that means TV's off and we're just focused on the puzzle. You can communicate over that or just talk about your day as well. Kind of a mindless thing to do, but it's fun to be with that person. At work, it would be giving the person you are talking to your focused and undivided attention. Again, similar to home. Quality conversations and small group dialogue. So think about if you've ever been in a huddle or a meeting and you're trying to get your words out or anything and people are on their phones and everybody's just in different directions and unfocused. It's frustrating and you don't feel appreciated like you would like to be. So those things that you want to avoid, again, are distractions, trying to show somebody that their time is valuable to you and you value and your time is valuable as well. Postpone dates, be true to what you're saying and be honest with the time that you're going to give the person and really commit to that. And then failure to listen. So really touching on making sure you're listening to the person. We're actually going to share a fun fact with you in a couple of slides too about that.
And then last but not least, the fifth love language is physical touch. Now, we recognize that this is going to probably look very different at home and at work, but it still is a very important language. And interestingly enough, when we look at, how this looks at home and work, in the book that focuses on appreciation in the workplace, they actually don't include physical touch as one of the languages, but there are still examples that we provide. So at home, it looks like any type of physical connection. So really reaffirming physical contact. And again, it's yet another way that we express ourselves. And at work, it's just basic human-to-human contact. And as I mentioned, this is not necessarily a primary language in the workplace, depending on the work environment that you're in. But ways that we might see it would be things like high fives, even with a handshake. A hand on the shoulder can really communicate that you care or that you're supporting somebody. So, if this is your love language, like these tend to be the people that like to hug to say hello versus just a wave from far away. So we all have different ways that we like to communicate how we care. And this is one that's just as important as all the others.
So to recap the 5 love languages, here they all are. These are all 5. And as you can tell with so many different languages, everybody is probably going to speak a little bit differently in each of those languages. So with that, we have some challenges. So for example, you may tend to speak in receiving gifts. Say you want gifts, that's how you feel loved and appreciated, but you don't really do so well with words of affirmation, and somebody is speaking to you in words of affirmation and doesn't realize that you really would appreciate a gift some more, that's going to lead to miscommunication. So think about that when you are communicating with somebody, whether it be a coworker or somebody at home, because this is important for everybody to really think about which love language is your primary one and not to completely avoid your least valued one, because that may be the primary language of somebody you care about most.
All right, and speaking of languages and words, we can't go any further without talking about our secret phrase. So because you are participating, and this might be for some of you your first time participating in the virtual edition of our Learn and Earn series, we will always have a secret phrase. that you'll need to enter into the survey at the end of this session in order to ensure that you get points. So for today, drum roll, the secret phrase is let all that you do be done in love. So again, don't forget that's a secret phrase, and I just think it's something important to carry. Let that be your mantra for the rest of this week. Let all that you do be done in love.
You can take a picture of that, write it down. We'll leave it up for a couple more seconds. You can always go backwards in this video too.
All right, so why did we choose this as a topic to kick off the year, and especially as an organization? I think I love working at Florida Hospital because I think we do a good job of making it clear that love definitely matters, not just at home, but it really does matter at work. So interestingly enough, we found a survey that was done by the Society for Human Resource Management. They do it every year, and they try to identify by asking employees from different types of organizations, what are those top key drivers of job satisfaction? So what are things that employees value at their job that help them to feel satisfaction? And of the top 10 drivers, 4 of them that they identified really tie directly into what we've been talking about with love languages and appreciation. So for example, respectful treatment of staff at all levels in the organization. So employees feel more satisfied when they see that there's love for everybody, regardless of your position, your status, who you are. We all know that love is something that we all need and we all want. So being able to provide that to each other can really help to build that bond and that sense of belonging. Another one was trust between employees and management. Trust with the people that you're working beside and working with on a daily basis is so important, and that really can help to build that loving environment. Relationships was another key driver as well, and that specifically with your immediate supervisors, but also just with the people that you work with. Knowing that you have that support can really make a difference and help you to feel more fulfilled in your job. And then the last one really talks about recognition. Performance is recognized by management. Not only management, but we can do a great job of, recognizing each other when you see someone going above and beyond, or, even recognizing when someone maybe is struggling and just needs words of encouragement. But if we learn to, appreciate and express that a little bit more, imagine what that can do for someone else's day and how much more loving our environment is. And we know too that if we're more loving to each other, then we're going to be that much better able to love those who are walking through that door on a daily basis.
Yeah, so it's clear that this is important to us and to all of our relationships that we have in life. So tips for building a loving relationship or a loving environment. First one is going to be learning your love language. Now, like we said, this is important for all relationships. So think about your relationship with a child, a brother, a sister, a parent, a friend, a loved one, a spouse, everything like that. This is important to learn your love language so you know how you like to be communicated with and how others would be best equipped to communicate with you. This is going to help give you the tools to really have a good relationship and improve those with others. So number 2, on the other side of things, ask your loved ones and your coworkers, whoever that may be, for their preferred method of receiving appreciation and love. So find out how they want to be talked to or communicated with, I guess, so that you guys can have a level playing field in order to get your ideas and concepts across.
A couple more tips, and this was a fun fact that we found, is to listen first and talk second. So the average person interrupts after only 17 seconds of listening. And I just have to laugh because I know I've caught myself sometimes in a conversation kind of listening to the person, but also listening for them to take a breath so that
that was about 17 seconds. That was pretty rude, right?
To interject, perfect example, and, get my point across. So if you ever find yourself in a conversation just waiting for that other person to stop talking so that you can talk, that's a sign that you're not really listening. So it really goes back to, again, communication is not just the words that you're saying, but also being an active listener, really listening to what the other person is saying and responding to what they're saying. So that's a great tip. And then the fourth and final one, which Bryce already did a great job of touching on, words of affirmation,
Thank you.
is to step outside of your comfort zone. Like she mentioned, we do tend to kind of communicate in the way that we're comfortable with. So try stepping out of that box and communicating love and appreciation in a new language. So for example, one of my highest ones is receiving gifts. And part of that is I always find myself giving gifts. I'll find something that reminds me of someone I care about, find an item, and I give it to them. And I know they appreciate it, but I like to try to step outside that box and maybe write a note or take them, for a cup of coffee and spend time with people. And it is surprising and pretty amazing how just by stepping outside of your comfort zone a little bit, you can see how much that can resonate with the other person and how much meaning it really has. Because like I said before, you can have the best of intentions, but if we're not speaking to the person and appreciating how they like to be appreciated, then sometimes they just may not notice or even understand how deep that care, that love is. So taking time to step outside of your box and out of your comfort zone can really make a big difference. And you never know, just something as simple as a handwritten note or a high five, how much that can brighten somebody's day. So if you want to learn more, we have some resources for you. So we did talk about these books quite a lot. So if you've never taken the Love Language quiz, we encourage you to start there. Take the Love Languages quiz. It is free. The website's right here. It's www.5lovelanguages.com. And the really neat thing about this site is they actually have different tests depending on your age. So they have one for adults, one for teens, and even for kids. So I've had my daughter take it, my husband, I've taken it. And if you've already taken the quiz, I challenge you to take it again. If it's been a couple years, I've actually just recently took it and found that my languages have changed over the years. So it's interesting to see how we do change and the way that we like to receive love as we, gain experience in the world and things happen changes. So it's just important first to start with that awareness. And you can learn a lot about relationships. Especially if you are in one, or even friendships, by both taking the quiz or taking it with your coworkers and really gaining a deeper understanding of what their love language is. And then the books that we mentioned, the 5 Love Languages was that first one by Gary Chapman. That really focuses again on you personally and specifically relationships, but again, self-love is also important. So knowing what you like and what you appreciate. So that really focuses on you as a person and you in relationships. And then the second one, the 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, really focuses on taking the concepts from, those 5 love languages and applying it to your work. And whether that's, things you do in the community or in your church, we can always find opportunities to love better. That's such a great concept. So these are really great resources.
And if you want to learn more about trust, again, we said this whole presentation was going to tie into the value of trust. We have a new education program coming up in April of this year called the Trust Transformation. And as you can see, the tagline is better results through better relationships. So we really want to encourage you guys to try it out. Get that first sneak peek in April. Be the first ones to see it and really share your experience. The other awesome thing about this program, along with a lot of our programs this year, is that you are more than welcome, and we encourage you to bring a spouse, family member, friend, anything, anybody who's important to you to come to this program with you. They obviously, if they're not a Florida Hospital employee, they won't receive points for it, but it'll be awesome to go through that with somebody to build relationships and trust.
And speaking of points, one of the most common questions that we get after every Learn and Earn, now getting used to the new title, is where are my points? So we understand why people ask. We know it's important. So we just want to reassure you that you will be getting points as long as you remember that secret phrase and correctly identify it. Points are loaded on a quarterly basis. So we just want to thank you in advance for your patience as we get all of that information compiled and get your points loaded. And where you would go to check that would be just log into your WebMD account, which you can get to from our website, creationhealthemployees.com. And then once you log in, you can simply click on rewards and go down to your supplemental points to see how you're doing. So again, thank you for your patience with that. And don't forget to complete that survey with the secret phrase. And that also allows you to give us feedback, as we always want to hear from you. I'd love to know what your love language is, see if you learned anything new. Hopefully you were inspired by something we said today. But just want to say thank you. This is, again, kicking off 2018 with New Year's resolutions, and we hope that you'll incorporate some of the things that we talked about today.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this Learn and Earn, and we hope that you participate in the rest of the 4 that are coming up for the rest of 2018.
Love you.